Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Can Errol Spence return to form? Now let me show you something, right? Let me move my head out the way and just look at these images of Errol Spence. Matter of fact, let me see if I can show you something else here. No capture. Let me see if I can show you this. Okay, this is much better. Now look at Errol Spence's, look at his face. Look at how in the top left corner, look at how fresh his face looks, how healthy, how nice his skin looks. Look at Errol Spence's face. Now look at the image below. That's how he looked when he came into the ring for Terrence Crawford. There's a big difference there. And then let me see if I can make this a little bit larger for you. Now look at this image here. Look at his face in the top right corner, right? Full of life, skin looks healthy. And then how his face looked when he came into the ring with Crawford. I mean, there's a big difference, man, between how Errol Spence used to look and how he looked in that ring. And you can't make me believe that we're not going to see a big difference and how he looks when he gets back in the ring. Looks like it's going to be next year. What's interesting about Errol Spence returning to the ring is that he's supposed to be going into a title shot at 154 against Fundora. But Crawford and his lawyers had filed for a 10-day extension to firm up a deal to fight Fundora in Crawford's next fight. So it makes me wonder, who's fighting Fundora? Is it going to be Crawford? Or is Spence going to get the fight? Because we know what Al Heyman and PBC and Leonard Ellaby came out and said. It's not personal, just business. PBC fighters will fight PBC fighters, and Errol Spence will get the first opportunity at a title shot at 154 against Fundora. But we just have to wait and see, because we know in the last few months there's been some progress made between the relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh and Al Heyman and PBC, where you've seen some of the PBC fighters actually get opportunities to fight outside of PBC, working alongside, Turki Al-Sheikh. So for me, I'm going to be honest, I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but if we're talking about early next year in January, October, November, December, January, I couldn't see Crawford fighting Fundora this year and then Fundora going and fighting in January. It just doesn't make sense. So for Errol Spence, he hasn't boxed since he fought Crawford. So, when we talk about a guy who's coming off of a fight being dropped 3 times, having the fight stopped in the 9th round, probably could have been stopped a lot sooner, and to return now, and even if he gets the Fundora fight, that's not an easy fight for Spence. I was watching some videos of Spence before. Man, Spence was a problem. Hands were fast. I mean, mega boom left hand, a right hook, ripping shots to the body. He was tearing you down. He's going upstairs, downstairs, man, and just systematically breaking fighters down and stopping them. Errol Spence was a wrecking machine. But to think that he can come back and return to form, to be that wrecking machine that he was before the Crawford fight, because the Crawford fight, no one recognized that guy in the ring. No one. Yeah, when he fought Yuriorkis, not Yuriorkis Gambo, Ugas, right? When he fought Ugas, that fight kind of showed that Errol Spence could be touched and could be hurt, but it didn't convince me that Errol Spence was going to show up in the fight with Crawford and get annihilated the way he did. But the bottom line is to see that he got touched up by Ugas. Then he fought in the best of the best against Crawford and got just destroyed. To think he's going to come now after, I would say, the Ugas fight showing some decline, the Crawford fight showing some decline, and to now be inactive and coming off of a few surgeries, that we're going to somehow see him kind of reverse things. I don't think so. I think if anything, there's going to be even more deterioration, especially when you're talking about the inactivity that he's experienced. And to go into a fight with a guy like Fundora, if that fight happens, who's only getting better, I just think it's a lose-lose for Errol Spence. Hold on, my son just sent me a text message. Hold on, let me see what he's talking about. Yeah, okay. He wants me to, says my son, he has a basketball this morning, and he wants me to bring his lunch. So I'm going to go drop off his lunch, and I'm going to go to the gym. I'm sorry, I'm reading this text from my son. He's practiced, he's in ninth grade, but they have the varsity basketball, JV basketball, and they have a ninth grade, like an A and B team. So they don't even really get an opportunity for varsity yet. I mean, for JV. And he's practicing with the JV guys and the varsity team 3 times a week in the morning. And basketball season hasn't started yet. So the coach has his eye on my son, man. But I just want to see what he's saying here. I'll deal with the rest of that. Anyway, we're going to see what happens, man. Now, the rematch between him and Crawford, look, to be honest with you, I think that's the direction they're trying to push this. I do. I think everyone's trying to push this rematch between Crawford and Spence. I think if you look at the movements, it looks like they're just trying to figure out a way to almost surprise us, but by covering the steps and trying to move in secret. Like, I think it's written on the wall that that's the direction they're trying to take things. Now, will they get there? I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever get there. But it looks like that's the direction that things could be going. Look, the bottom line is, what's the biggest fight for Crawford? Canelo doesn't want to fight him. He doesn't want to really fight anybody at 154. The biggest fight for Crawford really is the rematch Spence. The biggest fight for Spence is the rematch Crawford. There are a lot of people who are still holding on to Errol Spence losing to Crawford and really feeling that loss was a direct result of Errol Spence in the weight cut. Now, everyone has an opinion, but I do believe if they announce the Crawford-Spence rematch, I think people will jump on that bandwagon. But for that to happen, I think Spence has to return and look good in the fight. And if he does that, then I don't see why they don't make the rematch. But Spence has to be careful trying to return and look good against a guy like Israel Madrimov. Like, that's what you don't want. Now, in case y'all don't know, Sebastian Fundora, the word on the street is Israel Madrimov knocked Fundora out in sparring. Now, Crawford fought Fundora. Crawford dominated Spence. Crawford fought Madrimov. Crawford dominated Spence. He respected Madrimov. He didn't just come and try to walk through him. Crawford knew if I mess around with this guy, I can get hurt and knocked out. So Crawford fought smart. Did he dominate him? I'm going to say this. To me, he won almost every round. So in that sense, he dominated him. But he didn't get in there and beat him down. To me, there's 2 different types of dominating a fighter. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not comfortable saying Crawford dominated Madrimov. But what I don't want is for Spence to try to, and his team to say, let's use Madrimov as the measuring stick to see if you're really ready for the rematch with Crawford. I just think that's a suicide mission. Like, Madrimov is no measuring stick. Like, you just don't throw your fighter in there to see, let's see if you can, how you perform. Shit. That's not what you want. I honestly think the reason Crawford did it is because he wanted to get that, be a 4-division champion, and I almost feel like they were setting him up to lose. I really do. I think it was like, but you know what? That's what they're doing now with Turki Al-Sheikh, the best fighting the best, and that's really what we got. But no matter who Errol Spence fights, you got to be careful. And we're gonna keep talking about the car accident, undergoing cataract surgery to the right eye. If he fights Fundora, he better be careful because we know Fundora's swinging them goddamn elbows. Those elbows are like machetes. He hit Errol Spence over that head or that eye or something, or Errol Spence has that irreversible damage. It may not be worth it, man. But I think it's interesting because we're talking about 154 pounds where, Spence hasn't fought, and he said he'll be more healthier at that weight. Spence even went on to say that he can fight at 160, 168. So, I don't know. I think that'll be good to see how he looks. But I'll tell you what, a win for Spence over Fundora would make him, overnight an immediate, a unified champion. And I think that's great, man. And him as a unified champion and Crawford and the position he's in being a titleist at 154, I just think that sets up a great narrative to have a rematch between him and Terrence Crawford, man. But anyway, let's see what's going to happen. before I end this video, man, I just want to mention to you all what Errol Spence said. He said, a lot of people take it lightly just because I came back and fought and all that, but that's serious stuff. It's not too many people that go high speed in a Ferrari and get thrown from a Ferrari, land on solid concrete, and still be here to talk, still survive, still be coherent and everything. That was traumatic and a brutal experience that I went through. I've always been rating him Crawford high. I rated him super high. It definitely wasn't my night, but you know I definitely want to get that back, and I plan on returning to the ring, and that's a goal of mine, is to fight Terrence Crawford in a rematch. Anyway, we'll see what happens with Errol Spence. This man seems to kind of put his life outside of boxing as a priority. You know, he's managing fighters. But can he return to form? I'll be honest with you. Man, I don't know. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.